Okay, so welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Kagan, and if you've been a regular subscriber, welcome back. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you about iPhones. Basically, in the last 120 days or thereabouts, I have pretty much used every single entry-level iPhone that was released before the iPhone 12 and after or at the same time as the iPhone 8. So here's a list of iPhones that I used just so that I can make this video for you so that you don't have to use them. I used the iPhone 8 Plus, I used the iPhone 10, I used the iPhone 10s, I used the iPhone 10R, and I used the iPhone 11. That is 5 phones over 120 days or thereabouts. So in this video, I'm basically going to go over all these phones, tell you everything that I feel about them, their differences, their similarities, and what phone you might want to pick up if you're looking to buy an older generation iPhone right now that the iPhone 12 was just announced. So a few things for you to note. This video is not going to be one of those videos where I'm going to compare spec shit and compare the screen resolutions against each other or anything like that, because honestly, nobody cares about that stuff. And if what you're looking for is a spec list, you can simply go ahead and check GSM Arena or something and read a spec list if that's what's important to you. But in this video, what I will be doing, however, is telling you how these phones have made me feel in the time that I've used them, how they performed, what the actual user experience is, when you compare them against one another, and what's actually different if you choose to pick one over another. Now, the first and most important thing that I'd like to talk about when trying to differentiate this phone is going to have to be the fact that the iPhone 8 and the 8 Plus have physical haptic buttons that you can use to unlock your phone, as opposed to face unlock on the iPhone 10 and upwards. Now, this is important to point out because we are still in the middle of a pandemic and a lot of people are having problems with their Face ID, especially when they're out and they have their face masks on. And this is something to consider if you're trying to unlock your phone. You're going to have a harder time using Face ID as your biometric, whatever it's called. So it might be a lot easier to be able to unlock your phone with your fingerprint sensor. And if that's important to you, even though Apple does not still officially carry the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus, you can actually get it from places like Amazon and other sellers pretty much, or even buy them on eBay from other people for very, very low prices right now. Now, moving away from the face unlock brouhaha that you might experience with Face ID and talking about the rest of the phones on this list, a lot of people talk about the iPhone X and the iPhone 10s and how they were like $1,000 at launch, as opposed to the $700 that you had to pay for the iPhone 11 at launch. I mean, the iPhone 11 was a really, really sweet phone. Is a really, really sweet phone. I still own it and use it. The iPhone 11 had the bigger screen, it had the fancier design, so why was this phone more expensive? Well, it's little things like the fact that this phone had like OLED screens and higher resolution screens than the iPhone 11, and the iPhone 11 didn't even have up to a 1080p LCD screen, so there's that to consider. But one important thing that I want you to note about these screens is the fact that in my personal experience, and I am not speaking for anybody here, I am sure a lot of people will attack me, I feel like the screens on the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 10R, in this case, are better than the screens on the iPhone 10 and the 10s. Now, the reason why I feel that way is because a lot of people talk about how OLED is better and it's sharper and the blacks are deeper and this and that, but in my actual use case experience, I preferred the lower resolution LCD screens. I just couldn't tell a difference, first of all, and when I could tell a difference, when I could actually see that something was different, it wasn't to the advantage of the 10 and the 10s. In fact, it was to their detriment. Here's what I mean. These screens basically show a lot of pixelating on the shadows or black sections of phones. Like if you have a photo, like you export a photo from Lightroom and put it on both screens in front of you, you will notice some pixelation on the iPhone 10 and 10s, and you will not see that on the iPhone 11. Why is that the case? Like, I thought that was weird. No other screens were showing it. I wasn't seeing anything like that on my MacBooks. I wasn't seeing that on my office monitor. I wasn't seeing that on any other devices that I was using. Only the iPhone 10 and the iPhone 10s. So there's that to consider. And another thing to talk about is going to have to be the form factor. Now, in this part, I think the iPhone 10R and the iPhone 11 clearly win this conversation. And I'm trying to believe it's not because of the size of my hands and the size of this phone. Obviously, the iPhone 10 and 10s are slightly smaller than the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 10R. Now, the only exception to that rule is going to have to be the iPhone 8 Plus, which is also slightly larger. And you know, with the larger size of the iPhone 8 Plus, you sacrifice some of the screen real estate because of the bezels at the top and the bottom. And, you know, that's just it's not 2020 worthy or 2021 worthy design, in all honesty. So we're probably going to be concentrating on the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11 in this section of this video. I have pretty much made a previous video where I talked about the fact that the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11 are pretty much the exact same phone, minus the absence of one wide-angle camera, which you may or may not ever actually use, if I'm being honest with you. So for the most part, these two phones are the same phone. They function the same, they feel the same, they don't feel any different until you turn the back of the phone and actually notice that you have only one camera there. So for that form factor conversation, I think when it comes to handling, when it comes to the way that it feels in the hand and the way that it just works, the iPhone XR and the iPhone 11 are probably the better options to buy. But of course, they are slightly more expensive than if you decided to buy the 10 or XS right now. Maybe only slightly, because Apple has actually officially started selling the iPhone XR for $499 brand new. So what that tells me is you can actually get this phone refurbished or used like new from places like Amazon for significantly less than the $499 that Apple is selling them brand new for. The iPhone 11, on the other hand, surprised me that Apple actually decided to keep it in the lineup as opposed to just discontinuing it and focusing on the iPhone 12. But it's actually nice that they did that, and they were able to actually reduce the price or the cost for this phone by about $50 to buy brand new. So that's a really, really good thing that they were able to keep the iPhone 11 in the lineup. It's a fantastic phone, in all honesty. Now, another area where you would want to compare all of these phones is going to have to be performance. And this is really funny because since the A12 Bionic and the A13 and now the A14, all these phones perform fantastic. Like the iPhone 8 Plus from so many years ago still performs just as well as the iPhone 11 that I still use today. The iPhone 10 from so many years ago still performs just as good as the iPhone. I mean, yes, there are going to be incremental or slightly incremental differences and changes to the performance. They're going to tell you the A13 is faster than the A12 or the A14 is faster than the A13. And while that is most probably true, because I have no way to actually confirm this, in my use case, everyday use, running apps, so many apps in the background, doing my daily tasks, trying to be productive, making phone calls, texting my friends, making videos with my phone, taking photos for social media, I did not notice any of these phones being a slacker. None of the phones had a problem handling or doing the things that it was supposed to do and the times it was supposed to do it, or slowed down or lagged or had any hiccups doing my daily tasks. So there is no reason for me personally to feel like any of these chips are faster than the other. They all work really well, and whichever one you actually want to pick based on performance, you will be fine with. You are not going to feel like maybe you lost something or you were left behind or you didn't pay enough for better performance or anything like that. Any one of these phones is absolutely fine. I think ultimately, making a purchase decision like this, what it's going to have to come down to is going to have to be the way that the phone or the phones look and the amount of money that you have to spend. Obviously, the iPhone 8 is going to be significantly cheaper than the iPhone 10, and the iPhone 10 is going to be slightly cheaper than the iPhone XR, and the iPhone XR is going to be cheaper than the iPhone 11, and so on and so on. So if you're not in the market to actually pay full price for a brand new iPhone 12 right now, you can actually pick any of these other 4 devices or 5 devices, whatever the case, based on looks alone, and you'll be fine with the performance and the screen and the speakers. They all function really, really fine. There is almost nothing to differentiate them performance wise, except maybe if screen resolution was really important to you and you needed the OLED screen, you insist that you have to have it, then the iPhone 10 is still a fantastic purchase. Then the iPhone XS is still a fantastic purchase. But the fact is, in my experience, you're probably just not going to notice the difference. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was able to help you at least try to make sense of the iPhone lineup and the phones that are still available for you to buy right now, directly from Apple or not. I guess I will see you guys on another video that was shot by Kagan. Peace.